Okay. All
All
right.
right.
All right. So we are here this afternoon for just a really quick Facebook Live with Dawn Kamalanathan. She's SFUSD's Chief Facilities Officer. She's got some updates on the facilities prep for the elementary school reopenings in a couple of weeks, and also some information about how they're getting the middle and high school sites ready for vulnerable students to return later in April. So Dawn, you want to share some updates with us, and then I'll ask you some questions after?
Yeah, no, happy to. And thanks for making time this afternoon, last minute. So it is the end of spring break. Facilities division has not taken a break, though, as you might imagine, given the timelines we're working under. We did over the past week, I went, as did several of my colleagues, on grade 3 through 5 inspection go backs for a bunch of the wave 2 sites that we had prepared K through 2, 4, and then did grades 3 through 5 later. So we did 2 rounds of inspections. We finished those. And also our custodial supervisors, we've got movers still working. All different teams, buildings and grounds, have just been going full speed ahead over the course of spring break to finish preparing elementary schools for in-person learning. And we got really good news today that DPH has now sent us approval letters for all of the April 12th opening sites. So we're very excited about that because we got all A's, Michelle. Yay. Just for the record, all A's on our DPH inspections for the April 12th elementary school opening sites. So really excited about that. We've also really kicked off and started preparing middle school and high school sites for a vulnerable population students. And so that includes our SDC Mod Severe students, SDC Mild Mod, newcomer students, and then a broad range of student groups that were described as focal populations. And our communications with the Board of Ed that includes students who live in public housing, foster youth, homeless youth, and then students with low online engagement. And so we are setting up several hundred classrooms across over 20 sites starting this week and then going all the way up to the 19th so that we can have that ready and again connect with all of our various colleagues that we need to make sure that those sites can be ready on April 26th as we've communicated to the board. And so far we are on track for that. But that is a huge lift, as folks might imagine. Like we did months of planning to get elementary school ready, and then middle and high school has been abbreviated, is not even the strong enough word, just like so completely compressed in terms of our planning. So we arrive at the site and are figuring out the problems that need to be solved when we get there to do the setup, as opposed to doing a lot of prep and screening in advance. So there's not a lot of margin for error. But every single person who can is working on elementary school or the vulnerable students return at middle school and high school right now. And they'll be doing that all the way up through the 26th.
That's great. It sounds like a lot of work. I'm glad to hear the good news about getting the grade A on everything to open on the 12th. So are you also on track for the elementary school sites that are supposed to open on the 19th and 26th?
Yes. Yep. Right now we are still on track. We are on track.
Okay. That's great. And so is the dashboard that the city keeps on the progress of, who's applied and then been inspected and passed all of that, is that kept up up to date so that parents and community members can follow that? Do you know?
That's a good question. I don't know if they do it up to the day. I know that they're doing it at least once a week. But I don't know that it is updated daily or not.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
But people can.
But we have done like 50. We've done like, I think 50 inspections now.
Oh my goodness. That's a lot of inspections. And you've got more to do because we've got 72 elementary school sites,
that's
right? You've got several more coming up.
Yeah. And that's what the week of April, this coming week, is really that final dash that we are both preparing and finishing the stand-up of a lot of our sites. And then we are scheduling kind of the last batch of DPH inspections this week and this coming week, and then early the week after. And then after that, again, as schools reopen on April 12th, a lot of our workforce that has been helping to do preparation and stand up has to go back to their jobs, right? The custodial supervisors have to now not just go not be helping with stand up, but also going back to managing custodians to actually clean and take care of elementary schools. So our bandwidth is going to really start dropping after April 12th. And that's why it's important that we get as much work as possible done in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So when you are moving towards the middle and high school, those that aren't finished, you'll have capacity, or are you going to have to request? I know you've had support folks from the city, from the
Yeah.
COVID response center, right? COVID
Yeah.
response center have come and helped with some things in the past.
Yeah, no, still are. So what we have, we talk to Department of Public Health twice a week, and we've been coordinating different types of requests. They have given us some general laborers. They've given us some planners. There are some potentially more staff in the works. So I hope to have good things to report on that next week. That's been tremendously helpful. And also we've trained every parent who reached out to us, has been received an invitation at this point to help with doing the window inventory. And that window inventory is necessary not just for the classrooms that we want to open for the vulnerable population students, but also just to get the ball rolling for fall planning.
That's great. I've heard a bunch of parents mention that they've received emails from your department inviting them to help do that. And I think you've got orientations like yesterday and today for that or something, right?
Yep.
So can you talk for a minute about maybe what preparation is going into getting ready to get general ed in middle and high schools ready?
I think the window inventory is really, it's an important first step, kickoff step, because it helps us shape, that's a big strategy conversation that needs to be had in close collaboration with Department of Public Health. It's not something that we can just make decisions on by ourselves. So that data set, we've been told many times by the city, was so helpful for them as they were trying to think about a district-wide strategy, right? Because most of the other school entities that they're working with are like maybe a few thousand students over a few, definitely less than 20 buildings, oftentimes less than 5. And so to go to a place where you're trying to talk about 40, 100 and 150 sites in total, you want a uniform approach that will allow you to be flexible, but also set a really consistent standard. So that window inventory is a huge part of that. The other piece that we're going to work on is, I'm trying to think about, we need to, I think, kind of as a district and with our DPH partners, line up a little bit on what we think some kind of reasonable scenarios might be for fall, right? That there is still, I have a lot of reason to be optimistic in a way that I was not 10 months ago, with vaccines being introduced that you can use for teenagers as well as adults. And so that's a game changer for fall. And I think what we need to think about are just kind of what are some reasonable scenarios that we can plan for, and different levels of strictness that might be associated with those different scenarios, because it does take a lot of lead time to prepare a site. And everyone is experiencing that right now at elementary schools. Decisions, we had to start moving furniture in January before the dust had settled on anything. Just to move forward to make these timelines. And so we're going to try and shorten that gap and that lag time between, up-to-date decision making and then what we can do physically with the schools, and try and basically develop a plan that has flexibility at its core. I think that's what's important.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe as you all start to have a better sense of what middle school and high school planning will look like, because we have gotten questions too about, what does the hallway flow look like when you're changing classes, and how do you manage the different realities of switching classes and older kids instead of students who stay basically in one place all day.
That's right.
So I know it's more complicated. So maybe as you all start to get a little more information, we can share that with families and answer their questions around that. I know we just have a couple more minutes before we have to head off to meetings, but I wondered, we're still getting a lot of questions of people asking about the DPH guidelines related to, 6 feet moving
Yeah,
to 4 feet. And then now there's this 3 feet rule.
yeah,
And you just said, you have
yeah,
to start moving desks and planning classrooms back in January. So can you talk just super quickly about
yeah,
how that decision is made, how it relates to
yeah,
the agreements, the MOUs with labor partners,
yeah.
and just help people understand how that works?
Yeah, no, here, let me do my best. And I'm sure folks will correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, the template that we're using for elementary schools is this. We are going for 6 feet distance between students wherever as much as possible. And then in the instances when we have large, for example, group tables, students can be 48 inches apart with a partition. That is not necessarily DPH's guidance at this point, so much as SFUSD policy that is in alignment with our labor MOU. And so again, as I said, there's been a lag, right? The time when we needed to start setting things up and the negotiation with labor, and then also DPH's advice and guidance, which necessarily continues to evolve, have not all landed at the same time. And so that has made, I think, that challenging for everyone. But that is our current template. That is, though, I will say, that is a template for spring. Those agreements and this approach does not necessarily roll automatically into fall.
Thanks for that. And so just because we have heard a lot of questions about that. So it's in the MOU that this is how it's going to work. And so if folks want to question that, they can do advocacy with the other folks making those decisions, right?
Yeah.
And so that'd be a good place to direct their energy if they have feelings about that either way, right? And then maybe the last theme of questions we're hearing a lot about still is using outdoor space.
Yeah.
How can that be used to expand the number of students we serve in in-person instruction, or what, again, sort of whatever quickly based on the kinds of questions you're getting around that, what can you say?
Yeah. I think for spring, outdoor spaces will be used to kind of augment and enhance the in-person learning experience and make it a more livable and enjoyable experience for everyone. At this time, there are no plans to use outdoor spaces to expand the physical capacity of the school and allow it to serve, more students, more days. And again, that I think is very much the alignment of MOUs and then what would have been needed from a stand-up perspective, as well as I think, so I think from a facilities perspective, that's where we are, as we have set up principals with, designated zones if they have a schoolyard that's big enough that to support and be a mirror classroom for each one of the classrooms inside the school. And we're also, we've received requests from about 10 schools to use access to their adjacent parks to help with recess and lunchtime, so that those activities can happen there so that they can have more instruction outside during the day. And so we're working on that request and working with our rec park partners to figure out how and when that can happen.
Okay. And do you think that there's any possibility that those outdoor spaces might be used to bring even some of the middle and high school students back? As logistically challenging as it is to get
I mean, well, I think again, so what I would say is for fall, the agreements we have right now are spring agreements, to my understanding.
Yeah.
And that what I could just say from a facilities perspective, August, no surprise, August to November is our best weather. Maybe not August. August and Sunset is kind of miserable, but September through November is kind of the best weather in the city. And so I would love for us to think more creatively about how to use outdoor spaces to support instruction. And again, make sure that we're serving as many kids as we can, however we can.
Okay. All right. Well, since we have to sign off, this is just a really quick update.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do another one of these sometime soon.
Yeah.
but I want to just let everybody who's watching know that the PTA is co-hosting a town hall next Wednesday with the Department of Public Health and DCYF. We'll have someone from SFUSD on the panel, and we're going to get to talking about the questions about how DPH and SFUSD work together and how decisions are made and whose roles are what,
Sure.
as well as talking about before and after school care that options that families have. So, okay, well, thank you so much.
Great.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Happy
thanks.
Friday.
Nice to connect. Yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks for the Facilities Friday update.
All right.
Enjoy your weekends.
All right. Bye, Dawn.
Bye.